life is a little bit different than I planned it. I planned most of my life. Actually, I planned all of it. But there were things that were necessary to happen in my life that caused me to restructure and to recategorize how things are in my life and how I wanted them to be. I still have these things and I'm still living these things out, but they look a little bit different. When I was a little girl, I remember saying that I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to be a nurse, and I wanted to be this big educator, college professor with my doctorates. And for the most part, I've done a lot of that. I also wanted my own business. Um, that was when my early years, my little adolescence of my life. Some things I believe was influenced by a lot of people in my family and friends and teachers of the things that I could become because I was born in the 60s. I grew up mostly, I was born in the latter part of the 60s. So most of my bringing up was in the 70s. And so the mindset of what a young black woman could be in that time was quite different. It was possible, but it was going to be an extreme struggle because of the mindset of the people at that time. That's just the way life was. So I have been an educator. I've done preschool to 12th grade, and I've also done adults who had intellectual disabilities. That, as far as an educator, outside of church. Inside of church, I have done all groups except for the mature adults. I have not done well, I take that back. I have done the mature adults. I have not done the men because you just can't do that. That's just not what they have. In in a denominational, um, like I said, I grew up in Kojic. The women are not going to teach the men. That's just the way it is. The men don't teach the women. That's just the way it is. Um, it's a little bit different now the way they have it. Um, yeah, but for the most part, that's just the way it was. Now, in non-denominational, it was pretty much the same way. Bible study is different, where everybody's together. Um, in non-denominational, you have all the adults and you have the children. In Kojic, it was still separated. The men, the women, the children, and the different age groups. But for the most part, I've been an educator. Now, I still have a life dream of being a college professor before I leave this earth, and I'm going to do that. I'm bound and determined to do that. I have what I need to do that. Within the next 3 years, I will be a college professor because I said so. I also remember as I grew up and my ideals and everything changed, and I started formulating my own mindset as a preteen and as a teen and as a young adult. I was really into astrology and astronomy. I was still into business. I've always been into business. I've always had a head for business. Um, the nursing, I didn't always want to be, but I had a heart for it. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I just didn't know how I could incorporate it with everything else I wanted to do. Now I do, but at that time I didn't. I wanted my parents to encourage me on being an astrophysicist. because that was one of my life's dreams. And neither one of them were interested in that. They just wasn't. Um, I remember asking my mother for a telescope as a child. And her response was, "Girl, you don't need one of those things. You might see something up there that scare you half to death." And yeah, that was her response. My dad was like, yeah, okay. Well, you can be what you want to be, but it's going to cost a lot of money. That was his response. You know, um, it's not that he didn't want to support it, he just didn't see the importance of it. I did. And that's all I needed. It was, I had it. So once I came out of high school, I enjoyed working in food service, but it wasn't my last stop. I always knew that. That was just to have something to do while I went to junior college. And also being a certified nursing assistant, they weren't going to be my whole life. Now, I did want a career in healthcare. So I kept the nursing assistant. I didn't want to go as far as being an actual nurse or a medical doctor. I did strive for those things for a little bit just to see, but I didn't like the administrative part of those things. I didn't. I did not, because I did not see where they were advantageous for the patients and their families. I didn't like that. I didn't like what I saw. I didn't like what I heard. I didn't like what I observed. It was, you're no longer in a position to where you can actually care about the patient or their family. What I observed was people now, although they did have a heart's desire for those people, because of what was mandated of them, they could not show it, even if they had it. I didn't like that. And no one was going to take that from me. I am a people person, and I didn't care about being in a position that would take me away from that. I just wasn't. I cared about people, and it was important that I showed them that I care. And I'm an action person. I'm not into a whole lot of saying I love you or saying I care. It's important to me that I show you that I love you and I show you that I care. And it's important for me to receive that as well. Don't just tell me, show me, because your actions prove everything to me. It speaks so much louder than just your words, because your words can only go so far with me. But that's just me. So as it stands now, I love how my life has turned out. I've retired from nursing. I have nearly 40 years of that under my belt. I have over 30 years of being an educator under my belt. Um, I'm still in business. Actually, this month marks year 11 for me being in business. Yeah. And it's expanding. It's in the 11th year. You may not see it now, but you will see the results of that and the fruit of that later on in the year as the year progresses. Because there are some things that I have learned. I have learned how to take my experiences from nursing and as an educator and as a business owner and operator, and how to put all of that together. And that's not the easiest thing to do for a lot of people. It took me some time, but I found a way to do that. Um, but yeah, I found a way to do that, and I'm glad. I'm happy about it. There's a lot of people in my life, not a lot of them, but if you remember when I talked about my friends and how to be a friend to me, It's mostly my associates that will probably have a fit about it. My besties, they know you can't change my mind. Once I made up my mind, that's just the way it is. Whether they agree with it or not, they're still going to support me. The ones that are tucked away in my heart, they're going to flow with it. They are. They're going to flow with it, but they are also going to have their, they're going to be on high alert to where if they see where there are some blinders, they're going to let me know. And yeah, that's what they're for. But that's another video that you have to go back and see. But those that I have in the associates category, they may not be so crazy with how I'm going with this, especially as a metaphysician practitioner. Yeah, this is how I'm pulling all of this together as a practitioner of metaphysics. I'm still going to be publishing books. I'm going to actually be publishing a lot more. And yeah, this is where we are. So watch me grow.